Hello, and welcome to another episode of Brettcast Movie and TV Talk. This episode is an unscripted version episode, an unscripted episode today. Because, today, me and the girlfriend went and we saw, after doing a Toy Story 1 through 3 marathon, we went and saw Toy Story 4. And so we are going to talk about it. This is probably going to be a very awkward recording because I don't usually do unscripted. But we're going with it because I didn't feel like taking the time to write a script and I just wanted to get this out there as soon as possible. And yes, I'm in, as I call, the truck studio. So, Toy Story 4. Yes. This is an interesting case of a movie. I mean, Toy Story was my childhood, being 23. I remember that movie growing up. I've watched it plenty of times. I watched it back in the day on VHS, including number 2, on Toy Story 1 and 2, VHS copies. Watched it a lot. And, those movies in their time were amazing. I don't remember exactly, but I think those were the movies that, at least Toy Story 1, that really brought 3D animation for movies into light as usable technology. So, for a time, being technology pioneering, that was great. So, Toy Story 4. We're going to start non-spoilers first, okay? Non-spoilering. The movie was just... obviously you're going to hear my verdict now because it's non-spoiler. The story was good at the start, but then at the end... kind of tanked. Everything kind of tanked at the end for me. I won't go into details in this non-spoiler section. So yeah, the story was kind of it started out as interesting, and then at the end just went in a not very good to me direction. Not the direction I wanted it to go. So I don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to keep this non-spoilers. So yeah, the animation looked great. People have complained about the movie looks too realistic, and I'm just like, it looks like an animated movie about toys to me. That's what it looks like. So, I don't mean it was bad. It looks like, an animated movie from today. Which is fine. That's how it's supposed to look. So yeah. So for non-spoilering, my grade with my grading scale, this movie was average. And that's all mostly because of the ending. So yeah. Now, let's jump into the spoiler section. So, story, again, here we are, story. So the story was... It started out with a flashback, which in the movie said 9 years prior to Toy Story 4's, main plot. And now, if I did the math right, we're in, 2019? 9 years would have made it 2010. And... I think that was around the time when Toy Story 3 came out. Don't quote me. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that could be. Because the flashback has to deal with why, or I should say how and why, but how Bo Peep is pretty much gone. Toy Story 3, Bo Peep's gone. And we don't get why in that movie. Well, in the beginning of Toy Story 4, they decided to go back and show us this is why Bo Peep is not in Toy Story 3, basically. So that's how it starts, which is fine, because that's a very important point later. Alright, so then, through the opening credits, we basically land where Toy Story 3 ended, with Andy giving all of his stuff to Bonnie. And so Bonnie has entered kindergarten, and of course, it's a time where she's not playing with Woody. And Woody's kind of being like, oh yeah, whatever. She'll play with me eventually. I mean, he actually does care, but to the others, he's like, nah, it's fine, whatever. Let her play with whoever she wants. It's okay. Whatever. And then, the parents come in and it's like, oh, you gotta go to kindergarten. Kindergarten orientation. Kindergarten orientation. In which she cries, doesn't want to go, parents say, no, you can't bring a toy. But, Woody hitches a ride in her backpack anyway. She goes to this orientation. Basically starts out having a terrible time, sits in the back by herself. Woody basically helps her through the day, and through the course of that, with some art supplies, she makes a new toy named Forky, which was the one that's in all the trailers and all that as well. And so, yeah, she makes Forky, which turns her frown upside down. She has a great day at orientation. So then, obviously, they go back to her room. And so, Woody has to introduce Forky to the rest of the gang. And Forky does not consider himself a toy. He considers himself trash, wants to be in the trash, loves the trash, everything about trash. So then after that, we learn that Bonnie and the family are going on a vacation road trip. And so she brings a select amount of toys with her, and, they have this montage where they show Woody struggling to keep Forky from getting away into various trash receptacles as they go. And, well, it gets to a point where they're driving in their RV, and then Forky basically gets up on a place near the window, and he says, I'm not a toy, I'm trash, and then opens the window and flies out. So, of course, Woody, being the guy he is, has to go get him, and he didn't mind the fact that their RV was only 5 miles from their next spot. So Woody takes a jump out the window, goes back, finds Forky, and, throughout the course of getting back to the RV, Woody and Forky bond. Woody basically does what he did with Buzz in the first movie. He has to explain to him that you're a toy. Your job is to be there for Bonnie. He did that for Buzz. He's done that throughout all 3 of the Toy Story movies. I mean, he's the one that, had the hardest time in 3 having to cope with Andy, passing them on to Bonnie, and, the thoughts of not having a kid scares him. And anyway, so yeah, he and Forky bond, and the only way that Forky is really able to get any of this through his head is that he says that to Bonnie, he is her trash, which makes him flip his thinking. So then he, really, really, really wants to get to Bonnie. So they get on their way back, and they're passing by an antique store in which they see a lamp. Now, the lamp is, I didn't mention it earlier, but when the flashback happens, the flashback is, in the flashback, they have to rescue RC, who's trapped out in a storm and is about to get away, and Bo Peep, you see Bo Peep next to this lamp with her sheep. So later in the movie, as I'm explaining, they see this lamp in an antique store, and of course, they haven't seen Bo Peep in so long, and so Woody's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'm gonna go try to find Bo Peep in this antique store." Well, that wasn't a good idea, and he gets found by a toy named Gabby. And her whole thing is that she's a string talking, she has a pull string like Woody does, but it's the tape part in her voice box that doesn't work, and so she wants Woody's voice box because it works so well. And a lot of shit goes down in there, and I really don't want to explain this whole movie to you, but basically there's a lot of getting out of the antique store, which they do, but Forky also got captured, so he's like, I have to go back to get Forky and bring it back to Bonnie. And in the course of all of this, he runs back into Bo Peep, who has been, in his words, a lost toy for 7 years. Hasn't had a kid for 7 years, which is probably a really, really long time. Anyways, so basically, Bo Peep helps them go back because he wants Forky, and in the course of them going back to the antique store, one of these creepy butler looking dolls takes Bo Peep's sheep, so now she needs to get her sheep back, etc., etc. Basically, they try to get Forky, they fail, they barely make it out, and also they run into this toy named Kaboom, who's Canadian. He's like a stunt daredevil guy. He has his backstory of basically being abandoned by his kid because, his kid got him for Christmas, and he figured out that what the toy could actually do was not the same as in the commercial and didn't want it if it couldn't do exactly how it was in the commercial, which is fucking silly. I mean, come on. No child thinks like that. None. That's stupid. Anyway. So yeah. So basically they fail, but Woody, such a stand-up guy, he's like, I am going back again to get Forky. And I don't care if anyone's coming with me. And, Buzz wouldn't go with him. Bo Peep at this point was pissed off enough at him to leave. Whatever. So Woody goes back. Basically, as soon as he goes back into the antique store, Gabby is there, and, they have a little chat, and Woody's at the point where he's like, I don't care what I have to do, I just want Forky back. So he goes with it, and for Gabby, he gives up his voice box. The thing with Gabby is that she thinks that if she can talk through the voice box again, that there's a kid that frequents this antique store that's like the owner's grandchild or whatever, that child will love her, and she'll become her toy. I forget the child's name at this time, but anyway, so Woody goes through with it, gives up his voice box, and then he gets Forky, and as they're leaving, which Bonnie has happened earlier to forget her backpack at this antique store, so they find the backpack and they're about to go back in it, and well, Forky had some bonding time with Gabby. Basically told her everything about Woody and everything about him, and that's how she was able to get Woody to give up his voice box thing for Forky, is that Gabby understood what Woody has gone through and all the hardships and everything. So anyway, So they're watching as Gabby had basically put herself on a shelf, pulled the string. It did, her I'm Gabby, do you want to be my friend thing that the string voice, whatever, is supposed to do. Kid comes and picks it up, looks at it, and you think, oh, the child's going to take it as her toy and love it and all this stuff. But then no, the child's just like, throws Gabby in a box. So what does Woody and them do? Woody's like, well, hey, we're going back to Bonnie, and, if you show that off to Bonnie, Bonnie will love you and take you as her toy. Anyway, they decide that now they need to get back to Bonnie. They hatch a whole elaborate plan to do so, and as they're doing it, Gabby sees a child at this carnival that's happening right across from the antique place. And there's a child crying because she can't find her parents. And Gabby knows that this child needs her. So she presents herself in a way that the child notices her. Child picks her up, is like, oh, you're lost too. And then, the child goes over to a police officer and is like, hey, we're both lost, me and this toy. Reunited, and the child loves the toy. Gabby's story is fulfilled. The part that I really need to talk about is this flippin' ending, because it makes me so mad. So the toys in the RV kind of take over the RV so they can meet up with Woody at the carousel at this place. And so they get it there, and they extend the RV's awning. And Woody has a sad goodbye with Bo Peep because, Bo Peep and Woody are kind of a thing. They're in love with each other. And, after not seeing Bo Peep for so long and then having this adventure, of course, Woody wants to be with her, but Woody wants to be with Bonnie too, because, that is how Woody has been through all of the 3 movies before. He's always like, we have to be with a kid. We can't be lost toys, donations, daycare, anything. We have to be with one kid. And, it took him so long to get over Andy. And you can even see in this movie, he's still not over Andy. Which is kind of, whatever. People get over things at different paces. Anyway, so there's this scene where, Woody says goodbye and he walks over to Buzz on the awning of the RV. They're going back to Bonnie. And then Buzz looks at him like, Woody's walking over all sad and depressed. He has to say goodbye to Bo Peep, and Buzz looks at him, and he just says, she'll be okay. And now Woody's thinking he means Bo Peep, but then Buzz says, Bonnie will be okay, meaning Bonnie will be okay if you're not here, which is always saying, get your ass over there and be with Bo Peep. So of course Woody runs back to Bo Peep to be with her, and the two basically run off as they would have said, lost toys, but, they have this, they're not really lost because they have each other, yay. That is the moment that really, really, I hated that. I mean, like I said, through all 3 movies, Woody is like, we have to be, he's told people, you're a toy, you belong to such and such, it's your job to be there for them. And then in this movie, he just throws it all out the window because he wants to be with Bo Peep. Now, don't get me wrong. I wanted to see him be with Bo Peep as well. But I wanted this movie to end where, he was, where basically the same as it was. He would walk back to Buzz, and then he'd look at Bo Peep like he did, and then, Bo Peep would kind of be, out of frame, And then Buzz would say, she'll be okay, meaning Bo Peep will be okay. And then all of a sudden, Bo Peep will just be standing there next to Woody and be like, hey, I'm going to come with you guys because I now trust people and I want to be with Bonnie because you make it sound like she's so great. So that's the ending I really wanted. I didn't want this ending where Woody just goes off with Bo Peep and decides to just forget about Bonnie completely. So I did not like the ending of this movie one bit, but that's just me. There was also these two new toys that, what was it, just Bunny and Duck, I think is who they were, and Buzz kind of runs into them at this carnival because, Buzz gets found by a guy that runs a stand, where it's like shoot this many targets and you get a prize type of thing. And he runs into them and basically, they're supposed to be comedy relief, but it's just like, they'd come up with ideas for stuff that were just really morbid. I mean, it was funny in the movie because it's like, oh, you're just a bunch of cute plush, you can't possibly be this dark. But it's like, yeah, they have some interesting ideas. Anyway, and basically Woody had promised them, that they would be with a human like Bonnie. And so at that moment too, at the end of the movie, they didn't go with Buzz to Bonnie. No. They went with Bo Peep and Woody, which, during the end credits, we see Bo Peep and them go back to that same carnival stand and help all the toys there get owners, because that's all those toys really want. And that's fine, that's a noble cause to do as well, but I was expecting those two plush characters to also become Bonnie's, be a part of the Bonnie's toy crew. It just didn't end in a satisfactory way to me. Everything else in the movie was fine, but it just did not end in a satisfactory way to me. So yeah. So yeah, as I said in my non-spoiler section, this movie, Toy Story 4, is kind of just an average movie for me. The ending just really didn't sit well, I honestly hope they don't make any more Toy Story movies. They just need to be done. This movie, being as average as it was, just to me felt like, oh, we need to do something with our Toy Story license because it's been 10 years or something. Don't quote me on that again. Since we did anything with Toy Story. So, that's kind of it. It was an average movie at best. And I hope they don't make any more. I mean, like I said, Toy Story's been a part of my childhood growing up. And, I remember when they revealed Toy Story 4, I was just like, nobody asked for this. At that point I had closed my mind off to the idea of it. But then, of course, my girlfriend was like, yeah, I want to go see it. She loves Disney movies, and I like some. I don't like all of them, but I have my favorites, Disney Pixar movies. I like Pixar movies a bit more than the Disney princess stuff. But yeah, and then so I had to open my mind. I had to be like, I'm going to go into Toy Story 4 with an open mind, not with a mindset of, if I had went in with a mindset of this movie's going to be crap, this review would have been, yeah, this movie's bad, don't ever go see it, it just is horrible. But no, it went in with an open mind. I wasn't overly satisfied or overly undersatisfied, so it's just an average movie. That's all there is to it. And that is all I have to say. So if you added the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening and goodbye.